He's Derek.
Don't you think that life should be gay and gay and gay and gay and gay and gay and gay?
She's Romaine.
DerekandRomaine.com. So fucking convenient. It's on demand. It's right there when you need it, when you want it. There it is.
This is Derek and Romaine.
2.0, bitches.
What's gayer than spring on Broadway? Nothing.
Nothing is gayer than that, Derek. Oh, my goodness.
It's true. Well, the world is opening up. We're heading out. And even I have already been to see a Broadway show this year.
Wow.
I know.
I got to catch up.
You do.
I will be seeing one in the very near future.
So I think that to help prepare people for the fact that Broadway has opened back up again, and that people should go and check out many of the wonderful things going on the Great White Way.
That's racist.
Actually, no, it has nothing to do with the ethnicity of the performers. It has everything to do with the light bulbs on Broadway. But we thought that we would talk about Broadway with people who actually know something, because
we don't know a lot.
No, that's not really us.
Between the two of us, we have seen a lot of Broadway shows. We really have. But you're right. Some people know more than we do.
Yes. That's why we have to bring in the experts. Derek here along with Romaine, and joining us now in studio, it's podcasters Ben Rimalower and Daniel Nolen. And you can check out their podcast on the Broadway Podcast Network, BroadwayPodcastNetwork.com. And of course, Ben is on Twitter and Instagram, Ben Rimalower. And Daniel is also on Twitter and Instagram. He is Daniel Nolen, and Nolen is spelled with an E and not an O. No, I'm just kidding. An A. I was so close.
You really were.
So, Ben, we've had you on the show before. Daniel, you are new.
Yes.
So, Daniel, tell us a bit about yourself so that we can get to know you.
Absolutely. Well, as I was just telling you before we went on, I'm a sucker for Arby's. So on the way to the studio, I walked by an Arby's, and I really had to stop myself from going in and getting a little 6-piece chicken strip with a spicy 3-pepper sauce.
Interesting that's what you get at an
I know.
Arby's.
It's not right. It's not fair, but that's what I like. I'm a sucker for bar food, yeah.
So it's not like a big beef and cheddar or something.
I mean, I've had those moments. Sure, I've had those moments. But for me, it's all about anything that's a vehicle for the spicy 3-pepper dipping sauce, which a chicken strip is perfect for.
Yeah.
With that said, I'm from Oklahoma, which maybe that
might explain a few
explains a little bit about my palate. But yeah, I'm from Oklahoma. Been in New York almost 10 years now, so I'm officially maybe more of a New Yorker than an Oklahoma boy at this point. But yeah, just super happy to be here. Longtime listener.
Thank you.
Well, you know that New York, being in New York, first of all, two things. One, we chose this location because of its proximity to the meats. And the second thing is that being a New Yorker, like if you come here, being a New Yorker is something that, it's like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Like, you have to decide for yourself once it happens. Because other people will tell you you're not a New Yorker, and the moment where you push back and you're like, nope, I am. And this is why, that's when you truly are a New Yorker. Because people will constantly come for you that you're not really a New Yorker. So if you feel you are, and you have the receipts, then...
I truly do. Yeah, some days I wish I didn't feel quite like so much of one, but it's here.
Well, then you're definitely a New Yorker. And Ben, you are definitely a New Yorker at this point.
Well, when I first moved to the city in 1999, I stayed at my friend Marissa Katz's apartment for 3 months. And she had gone to NYU, so she was ahead of me. And she always made me feel like a hick. Never mind that we're from LA, but I was not a real New Yorker.
Right. Never
mind that I was born here. It didn't count. I was not a New Yorker like she was. And then it only occurred to me recently that she moved back to LA in 2004. Why do I still have her voice in my head making me feel like a not real New Yorker,
When in fact it is her.
Yeah.
She is not a New Yorker.
Thank you. So I'm going to pay it forward by making other people feel like a not real New Yorker.
I like that.
That's the New Yorker way.
That is the New York way.
So tell us a bit about your podcast.
Well, it's called Ben Rimalower's Broken Records, although we are in the process of rebranding as Cast-Offs to match
Rebranding.
our weekly live show at Club Cumming. And but it's all kind of the same thing, which is we just talk obsessively comparing and categorizing and ranking our favorite Broadway divas and Broadway adjacent divas. In our worldview, Whitney Houston is also a Broadway diva.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Diana Ross, Dolly Parton, they're all in there.
I mean,
All
I
the
would
dead
put Dolly
divas.
Parton in there, but I'm curious as to some of these other choices because when I think Broadway, I don't think of Whitney Houston.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, Ben and I, we have this method where we say, like, you know, we get a lot of input from the listeners through polling or social media, and we say they're like
Harassment.
the popular vote, you know, but we are ultimately like the super delegates.
Yeah.
So our definition of what counts as Broadway
Well, then
actually
I
goes.
have to ask you about this because this is a debate on our show, or it has been for a while now. Pam Anderson is stepping into the role of Roxy
Yes.
Hart in Chicago on Broadway. And I
She's
say,
stepping in it all right.
blasphemy! She is not a Broadway star. This is some BS stunt casting. I am against this 100%. I'd like to hear from you, Broadway friends. What do you
Well, first
think?
of all, it's Chicago, so it's not like they're a stranger to some stunt
I mean,
casting.
she is
Yeah.
replacing
True.
Lisa Rinna and Erica Jane and
All
other Real
horrible
Housewives.
choices.
Also, it has been stunt casting since the original production when Gwen Verdon had to step out and Liza just popped in
Oh,
unannounced.
God, the dream.
So yeah, this show has a long history of stunt
But
casting.
Pam Anderson, really? Like, that is like scraping the bottom.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, Romaine. It's
wanna see
cue the Monique gif. I would like to see it. You know, I would like to see it.
Of course you would.
I mean, I'm with you, Romaine, but on the other hand, I mean, I think the thing for us is like being on Broadway doesn't make you a Broadway diva. Stephanie J.
True.
Block has a Tony Award. We excluded her from our ranking of all Broadway divas. So certainly Pamela Anderson does not become a Broadway diva by doing
isn't-
Chicago. But Whitney Houston, by having that voice and that attitude and,
And can
singing
sing a show
Home
tune.
from the
Yep.
Wiz, and I Loves You Porgy better than anybody, she qualifies.
Yeah.
But there should be, my point has always been, there should be some standard of quality of performance in order to be on Broadway.
Listen,
I mean,
talk to the producers. I
definitely
didn't put
agree with
Ricky
you there.
Martin and Evita. They did that.
And there are several mini performances, recent and upcoming, that I'm a little concerned about for that reason.
Like whom?
Yeah, tell more.
I mean, I don't want to, get too mean too fast, but no, Ben and I are very, we love and support people just as much as we criticize, but, you know,
Just
we're both
not the same
just
people.
not the same people. But, you know, we're
Always.
huge fans of Barbara Streisand and Funny Girl, and I was like one of the most excited about this, you know, revival that they'd been
Derek
talking
just
about.
saw. You
What?
saw the first preview.
I saw
Okay,
it. I was
so
at
we
the,
have to
I was at the
discuss.
first preview. Yes.
Because we've heard the clips, we've heard the audio clips, and I am.
Don't throw me under the bus. I'm still in touch with the press office trying to get free tickets.
They already turned me down, so I'm safe.
Okay. By the time this airs, I think it's going to be very close to when the show is opening.
Okay, good,
So you'll
good.
either already have your tickets or you won't be getting them
Right,
at all.
right.
So
Listen, I never
we're
give
fine.
up. I mean,
Okay, good.
But I will say, I love Beanie Feldstein. I had very high hopes, and so far from the things I've heard, you know, both through the rumor mill and also really direct audio clips, I'm not quite sold. But I'm willing to go in with an open mind.
Doesn't sound like it.
Look,
there's between skeptical and open.
Sure. Okay.
obviously, I
Sutton
was
Foster and Anything Goes, I didn't even go. I don't care what you say, what you throw at her. That's not Reno Sweeney. I didn't need to see that. But Beanie and Funny Girl, even though I have my reservations, which are many, I am going to attend as long as I don't have to pay.
Yeah, I will attend for sure if I get a ticket. What did you think, Derek?
Well, I did, I asterisk because I saw the very first preview, which it is unfair to review a show based on the very first preview.
Totally.
But they have a thing in the show where they have some of the cast members walk behind Fanny Bryce, sort of like ghosts of theater past, right? During
Follies.
the show.
I was going to say very follies.
Right. But the thing is that the whole time that you're watching the show, because it's written so specifically for Barbara Streisand, and it's not just the song, the jokes, everything is written for her. The whole time during the show, she's like a karaoke background
Oh my
track during the entire, like, you can't not hear her in the empty space of the show. And honestly, if Barbara cameoed by being one of the ghosts walking by, it would be perfect, because you just can't not feel it, especially if you are a hardcore theater person. That, I think that's, and the whole, because before I thought, because remember in the 90s, I know Ben remembers this, Debbie Gibson was trying to bring Funny Girl to Broadway. You were in New York in 1999.
Debbie Gibson,
I'm sure there were like
the Leah Michelle of the 90s.
Yeah, there were gay riots in New York over Debbie Gibson trying to bring Funny Girl to Broadway. And at the time, I mean, whatever, it's Debbie Gibson. She was a nice girl. I met her one time. I'm sorry, Deborah. Excuse me. Yes, Deborah. I met her one time. She was very nice. And I'm sure she was a perfectly fine, like, Fanny Brown. Like, she can sing.
I saw her
like,
in
she's
Gypsy with Betty Buckley in New Jersey at the Paper Mill Playhouse.
And how was she?
Well, she played Gypsy, and as we say, the musical is a one-woman show.
Right.
So who cares?
Right.
But she was fine. She was equally good, no better or worse than Laura Benanti or Tammy Blanchard or Natalie Wood or anyone else that played that wallpaper role opposite a diva.
Let's not get crazy. Throwing Natalie in there.
Daniel, I don't know why. Daniel has a bug up his ass about hates Natalie
For some
Wood.
reason,
It's
and
so
I don't-
random.
there's no one in show business, as an audience member, as a spectator, that I really just rubs me the wrong way. But there's a couple, and Natalie Wood, for some reason, is someone, it's unwatchable to me. Unwatchable.
Well, she's not a musical theater performer.
Right.
And so she is an actor, and she was a very good actor, but she is not a musical actor. So it's tough. But it wasn't her choosing. The studio decided she was a star, and they put stars in these roles, and she wanted to do lots of different things, and so she wasn't going to turn it down. But she wasn't right for these things, and I think she knew she wasn't right for them too.
Right.
But you're a working actor, and they throw a dump truck full of cash at you. What are you supposed to do? No, I'm sorry, I have too much integrity to do the movie version of Gypsy. Like, I don't see that. But anyway, so I did not understand, because I had never seen Funny Girl at that time, why there was such gay uproar over Deborah Gibson wanting to do Funny Girl. But now that I've seen the show, I understand why it took 58 years for a revival, because Barbara is so much a part of the show that the thought of doing it without her just feels impossible. And I sat in a room for 2.5 hours. It still felt impossible. And this is no knock on Beanie Feldstein, because I think she works her ass off in the show. She's great in the dancing and the physical comedy.
She's so funny, yeah.
Yeah, she does this one physical comedy bit where she has to ditch a prop and roll into a pose, and she should get a Tony just for that bit of stage work. I almost stood up, that was fantastic stage work, because she really is talented. She's genuinely talented, but her singing voice is not Barbara's voice.
Right.
It's just, but whose is? That's the problem. And the whole time in hearing the song in a theater, I just thought, oh my God, Broadway audiences hearing Barbara alone on that stage in the acoustics of a Broadway theater, it must have been a revelation.
Totally.
And so it's hard when that's sort of in the history of the space. It's hard. But I have said before, I said on our show, and I'm going to say it again, the worst thing in the show is the miscasting of Jane Lynch.
No. Really?
I know. And look, Jane Lynch is an absolute iconic treasure of comedy. She is one of the most talented people probably on our planet. Her Sophie Lennon on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is a gift. A gift of a performance. Yeah. And it tears my heart out to say, I cannot believe how badly cast she is. And by the way, it's not like a great role or anything.
Right.
It's, again, like the thing with Gypsy.
It's a one-woman show.
This is a secondary, this is a throwaway role, and I understand why they put a star in it.
Because they don't have one in the lead.
But it's not a star part. And
who would you have cast?
Not good. Oh, I would have put Jackie Hoffman.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Or who else did I need?
Jackie can do the Yiddish version. Oh yeah.
I would have also
put him in rep. Yeah.
Yeah. Either one of them would be, because it's not like a great role, but both of them can take a little and turn it into something.
They would have made a little meal out of it.
We heard a rumor that, did Michael Hernandez Phillips tell you this? One of our regulars on our show the other night said that because Jane's character on Mrs. Maisel is based on Mom's Mabley. Do you know where I'm going with this? That somebody said get the mom from Mrs. Maisel, meaning Caroline Aaron, who plays what's his name's mother, and who's like very much that Jackie Hoffman, Mary Testa type, and that
they just misunderstood.
Too crazy. And then they got Jane Lynch, and they're like, uh-oh.
I worry that she doesn't want to do like a caricature of a Jewish mother from Brooklyn, and everything about the show should be more. Like more stereotypical Jewish mother from Brooklyn, more gay, more over the top. Like everything about the show should be more. Because you need to overcompensate for the fact that Barbara is not there.
Right.
So everything needs to be more.
Well, something I did hear that sounds like they're doing right is the leading man, who's very sexy, appears at the top of Act 2 shirtless.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. He was great. And
He should be pantsless.
the guy,
Yeah,
I
maybe.
can't remember the character name. Danny, the choreographer, dancer.
What's his name?
Like it's a secondary role where he's like not like a love interest, but he sort of is pining
Eddie
for
Ryan,
Fanny.
is that the character's
Maybe Eddie.
name?
Yeah. And the actor who does that, he is quite good, and he has a couple of like great dance solos, which are really terrific. So there's a lot in the show that's good, but I saw opening night of the preview, and the crowd was insane. And
Autograph hounds.
but I mean, the problem, like, it was the people who wanted to be there the very first second, and they were very excited. But the energy in Act 2 from the audience was different from the energy in Act 1.
Yeah.
So take that as you will. But I was surprised at how tough the show was. I think to put across.
Yeah.
Because the show itself, it's a fun show. They have a beautiful set. The costumes are great. The dancing's great. There's a lot here that's really great. And I don't think, other than Jane Lynch, which on paper seems great, but in practice, I had problems with.
Maybe Jane, by the time it
might be a little more Jewish.
Maybe she'll just be doing what's the like blue face? I don't know, what do you call going full Jew.
Yeah, but like, seriously, she needs to be like, bring Cat's Deli. Like, all of it.
I had lunch there yesterday.
Now we're talking. Oh my God. After Arby's, Katz is my favorite.
See, so there you go. I once went to Cat's like late one night out of some bar, and then we like ordered whatever, and I was like, you know what? I'm hungry. I'll have a side of bacon. Like I think we ordered like breakfast, and I was like, and I'll have a side of bacon, and they brought a literal side of bacon. I mean, it was like a mountain of bacon.
God.
Like half a bit.
I was like, excuse me, when I said a side, I meant a side order, but I think it was like, it's 3 a.m. and this is all the bacon we have left. So for the day, we were going to throw it out, so we just cooked all of it, and it's yours.
That's hilarious. That's like that.
Big.
That's like that I Love Lucy episode where she orders a side of beef for the freezer, thinking it's the size of a side of bacon.
Right.
I love Katz, and I love a late night Katz's trip.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you guys are doing shows in person, right?
Yeah, every Monday at Homecoming.
Right. So how has it been going with, our sort of post-pandemic reopening
We got
of the world?
really screwed. I mean, it's taken a while. We're finally out of the woods now, knock on wood, so to speak. Thank you.
We do have wood here.
But I always have wood. But we started, our first show was December 9th. And so between Omicron and the holidays, we just got really kind of sucker punched. And Alan Cumming took pity on us and moved something else that was Monday nights because he thought that would be a better slot for us, and that because we had been on Wednesdays before, and the Monday slot really has been better, and so things have picked up. But I didn't know if we were gonna make it.
Yeah. It was stop and start for a while there, and for the holidays, Ben was gone. I had Omicron, and so it was just like we were like, what are we gonna do? But I think, like you said, Alan saw that. And now it's also getting warmer out, daylight savings, people are out more. So that's all kind of rolling together to help us.
The New York scene is definitely starting to come back to life.
Oh, the tourists certainly have come back.
I was out this last weekend. And I couldn't believe it. Like, there was a lot of people out and about down in the Village and in Hell's Kitchen. Like, I was like, because I've been coming in and out of the city since the pandemic started and before that. And coming into the city in the evening, I was like, holy shit, where did all of these people come from? And what I found most surprising was how much younger the crowds seemed than what I have seen in the past. And I'm like, where did all these young people come from? Because I thought they all ran away after the pandemic started.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
No, I mean, I was like, Jesus, there are a lot of young people, like early 20s to 30s, that are just all over the city at night
like when
right
it
now.
rains and you suddenly see a lot of rats on the train platform.
Yeah.
Ooh, don't trigger Ben.
You don't like the rats?
I really do not.
What's the word for like arachnophobia, but for rodents? Is there a word for that?
Arachnophobia? Honestly, I don't know.
That's the name of your next one-man show.
Arachnophobia.
Terrifying.
I know, terrifying.
But Ben, you have a long history of performing live in front of audiences. So during the pandemic, did you start getting twitchy, not being able to be in front of people?
I really did. Well, I will say, I'm definitely someone who's really happy not doing anything. So I'm not like, I mean, Daniel and I share this trait that just like very happy to be alone for weeks on end, never get bored, never run out of TV, books, podcasts, music,
Taurus.
quietude. But I did miss it. And that's actually how our live show started, because we had already had the podcast going. And during the pandemic, we added a weekly live stream on Broadway World. And so we were having so much fun doing that, and the games that we made up that we played with our regular audience on the live stream, the interactive, live games. So then we started experimenting with doing that in front of an audience. We did a show in P-Town last summer, and that went great. And that's how we wound up doing cast-offs. Because I was, as you say, twitchy.
I get it. Lots of our creative friends, that's what they would say. They're like, oh my God, I was losing my mind. I didn't know what I was going to do. But it feels good to be out in front of like real people again.
Oh, yeah, it does. And like, I'm the same way, like Ben said, like for the first like 3 to 5 months of quarantine, I was just like so happy. I was like catching up on all my shows, my stack of library books. And then, that summer or whatever, whenever we started talking about the live show and then we did it in P-Town, I was just like, oh yeah, this feels good. This feels nice.
DNR 2.0.
Derek, not that long ago, well, a couple years now, I gave up soda because I realized that it was not necessarily great for my waistline and I needed to cut off some of the sugars and things like that. And I gotta be honest, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Very similar to when I started drinking Miller Lite because I wanted a light beer that actually tasted like beer.
That's right. Because you shouldn't have to sacrifice taste if you want a little less calorie.
Yeah, and you know me. I like to get together with my friends. We have game nights, or we sometimes sit by the fire pit, especially now that the weather is warming up. And, I want to be able to enjoy myself, drink a good beer, but not, make my life any more uncomfortable by putting on the LBs.
That's right. Well, and also, now that it is spring and you want to relax outside and everything, you don't want something too heavy. You want to just relax and enjoy the day. And Miller Lite is the perfect way to relax and enjoy this spring with friends.
Yes.
And people can check out Miller Lite on the web at millerlite.com/DNR to find out how they can get Miller Lite delivered right to their door.
I mean, having Miller Lite delivered right to your door is amazing. Of course, you can always find Miller Lite wherever beer is sold. I mean, you can pretty much get it anywhere because it's a very popular brand for people who want beer to taste like beer.
Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
That's right. It's Miller time.
DNR 2.0.
We're back with Ben Rimalower and Dan Nolen, hosts of Ben Rimalower's Broken Records podcast named TBD. Now, since you have played games with your guests, I would like to know who was the most game for the games?
The most, you mean out of
some
our
people
podcast
are a little
guests?
too game.
I believe that.
When we were in P-Town, we were playing one of our games, which is Name That Belt. And we play a bunch of different versions of the same song, and people have to guess who the performer is. And I'm sure you might have even had him as a guest before. Wonderful Eddie Shapiro, who wrote those great books. Nothing Like a Dame. And he does Gay Days Anaheim and all that. I mean, Eddie was just too good.
Yeah.
He just was like,
he got all of them.
He's got them even sometimes before the vocals started. It would be like, plink, plink, Barbara Cook, you know?
And like I would be trying to remember, like, wait, who is this? You know, because we'd set them up beforehand, and like he would get them before I even could like place it.
I was looking at my computer screen, seeing their name, and he beat me.
Wow.
And there's a couple of our regulars now at Club Coming who are just as good. I mean, even better than me, you know. And I'll most of the time I can figure out who, if Ben's doing it one week or we alternate. And if Ben's doing it, most of the time I can place who it is, especially if it's a song we've done before. But there's a couple of our regular guests who are just so quick with that, and it's really impressive.
Well, you know, there used to be a show called Name That Tune.
Oh,
and
yes.
then they would like, but sometimes it was literally one piano key, and it was like, ding. I was like, and they would have the answer. So sometimes people just, they know, you know, their brain is wired that way. Mine is not. Music is my pop culture Achilles heel, but other people, it's a gift for them, and you know,
Good for them.
you know, good for them.
Good
Well,
for
listen,
them.
look, we love it. I mean, the more interactive they are, you know, the better it is for us.
Totally.
You know, and we love playing games. I mean, some of our games, like we played Dolly Concert Kill, which is like Marry, Fuck, Kill, but it's about who you want to see in Hello Dolly and who you want to see in concert. And I mean, that was something we were playing for years at dinner parties.
Yeah, just
like
the two of us on the train
What an
or something.
interesting game for a dinner party.
Yeah,
Who
you know.
came up with this?
it was some bottom. I don't know.
But who would you? Because I was shocked at how, and I know there were other things that were going on behind the scenes that were unrelated to who was in the show and ticket sales, apparently, with Hello Dolly. But I was shocked at how quickly Hello Dolly closed in New York, based on how good the show was.
So good.
And because a friend of ours who had been in one of the production, I think the last production that Carol Channing did, he went to see the show, and he said everyone in the show is better than they need to be. And it was because, you know, again, it's a star vehicle, and Bette Midler, big star, and that show, everybody just knocked it right out of the park. That was such a great show.
Fabulous.
And the original Hello Dolly ran and toured for whatever, 20 years, like an eternity. They had 1 million ladies that went in and out of it. So I just thought, oh, well, this is such a great show, and it's a big hit. It'll run forever, and then it like quickly
I
went
blame
away.
Scott Rudin. I mean, because and not in the ways that most people blame Scott Rudin, but I think, you know, just because he's a film producer and has done all these projects that have been so high profile and made so much money. Broadway's such a poverty mentality. I mean, people have a show that like almost breaks even, and they're like, we're a hit, because it's just so rare that anything can make any money. So, but if he's got Bette Midler and he's making, you know, $2 million a week, and maybe to break even, he needs, I don't know, like 700,000 or something. And with Bernadette Peters, he's making 800,000 or 900,000 or whatever. It's like not worth it to him. And then he's going to go down from Bernadette to, you know, Kristen Chenoweth and barely break even. And, you know, then try, you know, and because they tried to get the real Dolly, and they tried to get Queen Latifah and people like that, and they couldn't. So the sort of, to go to this sort of, you know, sad to say, I mean, it goes back to the Pamela Anderson thing. It's like Broadway talent doesn't really move box office, and Broadway producers are used to those scraps. But I think that for Scott Rudin, it's like it was not worth it. But I was pissed too. I wanted to see.
I mean,
everybody.
it should have run. It should still be running. You know,
Yeah.
and we could have. You know, at this point, we could see like a Pam Anderson or a Stephanie J. Block in the role.
Well, let's not.
Well,
get carried
just
away.
the way
don't
that
get carried
Chicago,
away.
'cause-
Don't get carried away.
You know, I think the Weislers with Chicago, they are fine with, you know, riding some break-even weeks,
Yeah.
you know, along the way, because it's worth it to them to keep the show going. And it's
Yeah.
not like a super expensive show to run. And especially now that it's been running so long. Yeah, to them, it's like, okay, every once in a while, we just need to throw a Pamela Anderson in, and people will be buzzing and talking about it. And then all across America, people will be like, oh, yeah, that's Chicago. It's on Broadway. Maybe the next time we're in New York, we'll go see it. Like, to them, it's worth it to keep it going and keep the lights on long term, because they just they're Broadway producers, and for them, having an active show on Broadway, even if it makes $1 a week, is better than not having a show on Broadway.
Totally.
So
They're good at saving a buck. They'll be like, this leotard's good for another week. Just don't wash it so hard.
I mean, they barely have any costumes on that show anyway.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
That's why I like that show.
and with stars of a certain age, you can really save on lighting. So, but yeah, I was just surprised that Hello Dolly did not follow a similar model. But I agree, it probably is based on the producer.
Well,
but
we did go out to Hartford
That's
to see
right.
Carolee Carmello, and I saw Betty Buckley also in the national tour. So for us, it ran a little longer.
Yeah. But it is, like you were saying, it's such a star vehicle, and it's so that one-woman show kind of mentality that Carolee Carmello is one of our great Broadway lady talents, but seeing her in Hartford was like, we were the only ones giving her entrance applause. It was like no one had any idea who Carolee Carmello was.
It was really the opposite of Bette Midler, like walking into a wall of adulation.
yeah, I mean, that was, seeing Bette Midler, that was like a tent revival. Like, that was insane.
Totally.
Because
Oh my God.
the crowd was crazy on the first night of the preview at Funny Girl, but it was crazier on whatever week. We were at like week 7 of Bette Midler.
Yeah, I don't think she had a
in
single
Hello Dolly,
performance that wasn't at that level.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's why, because I had been sort of sad that it wasn't Patti LuPone, because I think she'd be so great, and she had been in talks about it, and there's been rumors and stuff in the years prior. I believe I was even in a Facebook group, Cast Patti LuPone.
That's
Perhaps.
funny.
Not too late, but so I was like kind of sad, even though I'm a huge Bette fan. But the thing I felt watching Bette was just like it wouldn't have been that level of energy with Patty, not against Patty, but it's the same thing with Carolee and Hartford at a different level. It's just like there's not, it's a musical about an old lady going to a restaurant she hasn't been to in a long time.
Mhm.
And you need to just be like, oh my God, I'm seeing Bette. I can't believe I'm seeing Bette. And if you're just like, Patty was great in War Paint and now she's killing it in this, it's just like, where'd she go?
I mean, Patty would have, made it her own and made it thrilling, but that
Tread
role.
lightly.
What?
Tread lightly.
I'm walking very, very carefully. But no. Patty, that role in Hello Dolly, which is great because a lot of ladies can play that role. Maybe some who aren't super, gifted as vocally as someone like Patty. But I don't think it would have used, Hello Dolly would not have used Patty's vocal talents to the extent that some other show like Gypsy could have.
In my fantasy, they would have added back the songs that they put in for Ethel Merman for Patty to sing.
Or do like the Barbara arrangements from the film.
All of the above.
So who is on your Dolly bucket list then? Because I feel like the last time when Dolly was on Broadway in the 60s and then touring and whatever in the 60s and 70s, there was like this whole group, not just of Broadway performers, but of Hollywood studio performers who had come up at MGM, who could sing, could dance, could act, who had all of it, who were by then middle-aged and not making movie musicals, but could jump into a show like Hello Dolly, bring the kind of star power that Bette
Mame,
Midler
too.
brought. Mame. So there were these shows at that time where there was this deep bench of performers that could jump in.
Thank you for bench.
Yeah, I like that.
But we don't have the same world now. And if
Yeah.
anything, it's like, well, we have a deep bench of Broadway performers, but they're not famous names.
Yeah.
the
No,
way
we have a
that,
deeper bench of reality TV stars.
Yeah. So who would you like to see? Who is your modern deep bench then for Dolly that you think should have gotten a chance but didn't?
Well, Patty would 100% be the person I'd want to see. And then, other than that, it would be someone like Dolly Parton or, I mean, Reba was so great in Annie Get Your Gun. I'm sure she'd be great in this. I mean, I think, I guess the other people I think of are more like music stars who are also personalities. Or Reba did the sitcom.
I mean, someone like Reba or Dolly would be great. I mean, just because they're such huge stars, but also they'd give you the personality and they, the lines would be so unique in their voice. But I mean, for me, I think, and I heard these rumors. Of course, you hear rumors about everyone. But someone was saying like, oh, Barbra Streisand, at the end, if Dolly runs for another year, she said she would come in and do 2 performances a week. Which, if you know Barbara, that actually sounds pretty like on the nose. No pun intended. But
watch it.
That's that would be my dream, is seeing like Barbara play Dolly now.
Yeah, I
or like
agree.
5 years ago. I mean, because that movie's good, but
She's
arguably
too
too
young.
young for the
Yeah,
role.
for
So
sure.
I would like to see her now just in the costumes doing the bare minimum.
But God, if you thought Bette Midler complained about the choreography and props.
I mean, and Barbara would have had to have a teleprompter with the lines scrolling in front of her
A
the whole time.
Jumbotron.
Yeah.
Well, we just watched the movie version of Sweet Charity over the weekend, and I talked about it on our show. But
He did.
Anyway, so after watching it, though, I was like, oh yeah, now I want to watch Beyonce's "Get Me Bodied" video because it
same.
rips that up. And then, so I watched it earlier today, and then I had this revelation. I was like, oh my God, the Weislers should give Beyonce $1 billion to do Chicago in Las Vegas for 10 weeks.
Totally.
Because
Brilliant.
Beyonce probably doesn't want to do a residency in Vegas, whatever. But I was like, they could put this up for 5 cents in a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Beyonce in either of the roles.
Who would be the other role though?
Solange.
I would want Cardi B or someone. That would be fabulous.
And then Lizzo as Mama Morton.
Oh,
Oh
please,
my God, it'd be
please.
incredible. But because you couldn't do it in the theater where it is in New York, it's too small. And after Pamela Anderson is in it, Beyonce's not going to go in and following Pamela Anderson. But I was
But I
like,
love
you know
that.
what?
Vegas is perfect.
But yeah, you put it in Vegas, a 10,000 seat, gigantic Caesar's Palace, and Beyonce does it 10 weeks only in Chicago because the crowd would love it. She could dance the shit out
Oh
of
my
it,
God.
sing the shit out of it,
she'd
and
make bukus of money.
and it would make so much fucking
Yeah.
money. And the Weislers would be fine because this is fine. We have some leftover fishnets. We'll just send it out to Vegas. It's fine.
Yeah.
And by the way, Mama Morton should only ever be played by a dyke. As far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned, Leah DeLaria, best Mama Morton I'd ever seen.
I wish I'd
that sounds
seen her.
amazing. I'm sad I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
She was amazing.
Janelle Monáe could play Billy Flynn.
Oh.
I like this. We're
Okay.
onto something.
All right.
But
Romaine.
remember when Christina Applegate did Sweet Charity and she broke her whatever, and then there was rumors that Britney Spears was going to do it.
Oh wow.
And I mean I don't have a sense of her mental place
Yeah.
now, but I think Britney is actually. I
Yeah.
mean, I know her voice isn't as great as Christina's, but she has a
She
great
can sing.
voice to do a Gwen Verdon role, or
Sure.
she could do a lot of Broadway stuff, and she can dance, and she's
Right.
got
yeah, she's
even
a show
if
pony.
she's not an actor, she knows how to deliver lines and do the craft of it, so to speak. And I also think we would all project all the vulnerability and stuff that we think about her, and it would just be really interesting.
Yeah, I think a Britney Sweet Charity would be a huge idea. I
Yeah.
think the biggest problem for getting somebody like Britney or even Beyonce to do something like this is it's so out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because even the thing about Barbara coming to Broadway, people have been trying to get her to come back to Broadway, but her stage fright, it was hard enough for her to tour in her own material where she controls everything. The idea of
Co-directed
her
by Barbara Streisand.
yeah,
Directed.
having to deal with the other actors moving around her on the stage.
Yeah,
I'm just
oh my
okay,
God.
how is that going to work? So I
Well, I could
think a
direct
lot of the-
Britney, and I would just really hold her hand through the process. So
Yeah.
I think we could make it work.
Yeah, I think she'd be great. I think
we
she
could
would
give her
totally
an
kill it.
earpiece. We'll give her the lines as the show goes on, and
Yeah.
she'll be great. I mean, she ran that Vegas show for years and years and years,
Oh, yeah.
like a
Yeah.
workhorse, and so she could do Broadway would be nothing for her.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that is the thing. I think it would be hard psychologically to get her to a place of, what would be a great career move for you, Broadway. But the reality is she could kill it because she can dance the hell out of a show
Yeah.
and sing fine. She doesn't have an incredible singing voice, but it doesn't matter because she will make up for it in star power and her dance.
Totally.
And from an acting standpoint, people are coming to musical theater because, it's Meryl Streep. They just need somebody who credibly puts over the character in the show. And Brittany could definitely do that.
Yeah.
But, it really would be whether or not she would want to do it. But
Well, Brittany, if you're listening, we would like to talk.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of shows that are out now or that are about to open here on Broadway. What else are you excited about in our current season? And any early, you think, shoe-ins for the Tonys that'll
Good
be coming up in
question.
June?
A Strange Loop
Strange Loop,
boots the house down.
#1 Pulitzer Prize winner Michael R. Jackson's wonderful, wonderful musical.
Did you guys didn't see it at Playwrights Horizons?
No. I've
I've
never even heard of it. What is
best
it?
show in years.
Really?
So great. It's an original musical. I actually didn't get to see it, but I know the cast recording by heart. I mean, it's just brilliant.
It's about this. It's sort of autobiographical, and it's about this. What does he say? Fat black gay
queer
guy
writer,
who's like
yeah.
working as an usher at the Lion King, wanting to write musicals, and so it's sort of like a little bit like about itself because all that. But but the other characters are the other actors are the thoughts, but not as in like Instagram
THOT.
hot. But they're like the thoughts in his head, and they each sort of have a different track, kind of like that.
Inside Out.
I was going to say
yeah.
Herman's Head. Anyone remember that? And they're so talented too, and they also take on the roles of like his parents or a guy he meets on Grindr. And it's just and it all leads up. His parents keep telling him that he should write something like Tyler Perry does, and then there's this whole sort of set piece that's like if he did write a Tyler Perry musical,
What it would be.
and I mean it's so smart, and the music is so great. It's like it's the greatest combination of like honoring the traditions of what made like great shows like Sondheim stuff good, but just feeling so fresh and in a very
So fresh and
authentic
hummable,
way. Not
like-
like I mean, I hate to say it, but like I saw Suffs at the Public,
Oh, yeah.
which feels a little bit like it's trying to be Hamilton or something. And this is not trying to be anything other than just
What it
its
is.
brilliant itself.
Let it come from you, then it will be new.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's great. I mean, like I said, I know the cast recording so well. I walk down the street and listen to it. I'm not someone who just, we were just talking about this, who just like listens to a bunch of cast recordings on my free time. But this is one that I find myself like craving because it's like ear candy, but it's also really smart and really cutting edge and fresh. So yeah.
Okay.
Strange Loop number one.
A strange
Number
loop.
one. It's for sure is going to win the best musical Tony, no competition. I mean, it already won the Pulitzer. And it's just better than, I don't think anyone's going to be like, this is not a great show. I think maybe some bitches will be like, well, I didn't enjoy it myself because, you know, or it's overrated, maybe they'll say, but it isn't. It deserves everything.
Yeah.
I am curious to see if it's able to like sell a lot of tickets and run a long time. But it definitely will get the reviews and the awards.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that is the hard thing these days because, you know, Music Man has not gotten great reviews, but Hugh Jackman is a star, a movie
Superstar,
star and Broadway star.
Yeah.
And that Winter Garden Theater is an absolute barn, and he is packing them in. So, you know.
I wish he'd pack.
Oh, really? Now?
All right, Case, calm down.
No, we actually did see that together. Mixed feelings, but overall it was super fun. I mean, I loved it. It was, you know, super thrilling, and the audience loved it. And I mean, it's just such a great show. Anyway, one of my favorites. You know, we had a few notes just about the two leads, but you know, overall they were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite shows, too. It's a great show. And
Weeping at the Wells Fargo wagon.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's a
literally
crowd pleaser. Like, the
crying.
thing is, like, I think that a show like Music Man, especially with a Hugh Jackman in it, is what people come to New York. When people in other parts of the country think of New York and Broadway, that is what they think. A classic old school musical with lots of hummable tunes, a big star singing and dancing his heart out. And like, I think it just delivers all the things that people want.
Totally. And knowing that a tourist is seeing the Music Man and not like another show, which I actually enjoyed, even though it wasn't good. I like Mrs. Doubtfire. I had a great time there. The audience loved it. It was so much fun, but you know, it's not a brilliant show. Let's just say that. But the Music Man, knowing that knowing that tourists are coming and seeing the Music Man, it makes me so happy because it's such a smart show. It's like you're not just being fed candy; you're being like nourished by like, you know, one of the greats of musical theater and this play that. And after seeing it, I was like, should this have won the Pulitzer? It's just so wonderful in the themes of, you know, seeing the good in people and paying it forward and that kind of thing. It was just really, it took me there.
Yeah. But I do think when tourists come to New York, they see the Music Man, they have a good time, and it opens them up to the idea of seeing another show.
Yes.
So, you know, because Broadway needs people to come and keep coming back.
Totally.
And so,
Well, look, and I mean, the same thing can even happen with Pam Anderson. I mean, they go see her because she's sensationalistic, and she's in there's the new series
Don't
and
go
everything.
see her.
But they really might, Romaine. And
No, they will.
And
I
maybe
know
they'll
they will.
enjoy Chicago just because she's in it. You still have fabulous Brenda Braxton is playing Velma.
Oh, that's who I
And-
saw as Velma.
she's been doing it forever.
years
She's
ago in
so
Tulsa,
good.
Oklahoma. Wow.
Talk about ageless. That woman is over
Beautiful.
60, and she looks
Beautiful.
about 22.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
I mean, she's on TV too. She's on the Good Fight, but she's not the star. But but they could easily see that and be like, oh my God, I love musical theater. P.S. Mom, I'm gay.
Well, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. Kander and Ebb is Chicago, even more than Cabaret.
Even more than Liza with a Z.
Maybe I wouldn't go that far. Let me say the musical out of the musicals.
all right, fair enough. Well, I'm glad you guys dropped by to join us to dish all about Broadway. Probably the gayest conversation.
Oh wow,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Gay
saying
show
something.
we've
You
had
know
in
when
a long
I'm just sitting
time.
back and listening, that's a pretty gay conversation. I let the gay boys take over.
Romaine has very strong opinions that Broadway can only be one way, her way, and that's it.
There should just be a standard. That's all
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
saying.
I was going to ask you earlier, what would the three roles in Chicago, Roxy, Velma, and Mama Morton, who would your dream casting be?
Well, I definitely think that Mama Morton should be played by a lesbian,
Yeah.
and the dykier the better.
Love it.
Because I think that Mama Morton is clearly fucking all those girls, and I think that
Totally.
really
Oh, yeah.
needs to be reflected in the
Yep.
way that they portray that role.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
We were half there with Queen Latifah, but she didn't follow through.
She
on it.
did
She really
because she was such a closet case, so it's like
It was
okay.
too early.
Yeah. So, I don't know who I would want to see in the other two. I mean, I thought Bebe Neuwirth as Velma was as good as it gets. I mean, she
Amazing.
was
Yep.
incredible in that role. And I don't know who I'd want to see as Roxy, honestly. I'm sure there's somebody in my mind if I thought
Melanie
about
Griffith.
People say that she was really
I know,
good.
but
I've
she
seen
was-
clips of her. I thought she was good. There's that video you can
And
watch on
she's
YouTube.
your
all the
thing
Roxys.
of like the old Hollywood in a way. I mean, she's even Janet Leigh's
Right.
daughter,
I mean, Dakota.
Tippi Hedren. Yes.
Yeah, Tippi
That
Hedren.
was- sorry.
Dakota Johnson could play Roxy someday.
Yeah.
Janet Leigh's Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. I know that.
Oh my God, Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
All right. And would people be able to see her on the stage? Because she's barely there.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh, no. I'm sure she's lovely.
I did like her in that recent Olivia Colman movie, The Lost Daughter. I thought she was good in that.
Oh, yeah. She was good. That was a great movie.
So
Romaine
good.
hasn't seen it, but I've been like begging her to watch it because she
you
would
have
love
to.
it.
So good.
Because it's very conflicted motherhood, which she would enjoy. She's very conflicted
I know a
about her
few
own
things
motherhood.
about that.
Aren't we all?
Parenting is hard.
Yeah. Mounting a Broadway show is even harder. All right. Our thanks to Ben Rimalower and Daniel Nolen for being with us. Be sure to check out their podcast, name changing, at BroadwayPodcastNetwork.com and their show, Cast Offs, at Club Cummings, Monday nights right here in New York City. Ben Rimalower on Twitter and Instagram, and Daniel Nolen with an E on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Can't get enough of the show? Follow them on Twitter at DNR Show or like them on Facebook.
And don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe to DNR 2.0 at DerekandRomaine.com.